I was thinking about this morning that obviously like we're good buds, and I've had the opportunity to be like to listen to this record and to you come over to the house and play it for us and stuff like that. And I've got but I still haven't been able to ask you a couple of questions about it. And this has really interested me to be able to ask my friend questions
Yeah.
about his record that I wasn't able to ask over a beer.
Yeah, have at it. What do you what are you curious about?
When I went to see the last Hey Rosetta show before the hiatus,
Hmm.
it was at Mile One Stadium in St. John's. I know it was a really emotional show. We all had a big party afterwards.
Hmm.
I wonder, at that show, did you think for a second that you may not ever get to make music again?
I definitely thought that, yeah. And I also knew that if I was going to make music again, it wouldn't be at the same it wouldn't be in this at the same level, perhaps with the same ardent fans, and it wouldn't be it wouldn't at least wouldn't be in that moment with those people ever again. That was the biggest show we ever played, probably. I mean, the biggest of our shows we ever played.
It was a big
It
arena.
was a sold out
Yeah.
arena, at home, and it was the culmination of many years and days in the van and work, and it was just a beautiful celebration. I mean, we always felt so much love at home, but that was over the top, and yeah, it was very hard not to get emotional during that show, actually.
Yeah.
But I finally lost it at the end. I remember singing the last couple songs. Very difficult to sing and cry at the same time. Very difficult.
I've heard. I've
Yeah.
I've also listened to Dashboard Confessional. I've heard that's the case.
Right.
So, was there a moment where you got off stage, or even just like a couple of weeks afterwards, where you thought, I'm going to go be a carpenter. I'm going to go be an English teacher. I'm going to do something else.
Yeah, I mean, I did. I mean, like when we spent so much time on the road with Hey Rosetta. I mean, because we tour out of St. John's, and it's just so much driving to get anywhere. And we go out for these long runs to make it sort of worthwhile, make the ferry, run worthwhile and everything. We spent so much time. I mean, you spend a lot of time just in the back of the van, dreaming about what else you could be doing instead of wasting your potential sitting here eating potato chips
Yeah.
on the Trans-Canada Highway, with your brain sort of dripping out of your ears. And so, a lot of daydreams. I think we all did, which is why sort of it ended up, a couple of the boys ended up saying, I can't do this anymore. And I've got, there's more to life than this. And so, yeah, it was tempting. But then at the same time, I can never really stop writing, and I'm a bit of a sucker for seeing things through and getting them just right. And so it made utter sense to me that I wouldn't really be at anything else. Yeah.
So, when did you know? When did you know? Was it around dance that you knew? Okay, maybe I want to keep doing this.
Yeah. No. I mean, I knew pretty close. I mean, I've been sort of thinking about the solo thing for a long time. Just because I had so many songs that I would bring to the band that didn't really fit us in that moment or the record we were making, and sort of just fell by the wayside. And I always thought, I can collect these off-cast tunes and make something of them. I think they should see the light of day. And so it sort of started like that.
It was going to be a collection of songs that didn't get recorded by Hey Rosetta.
Kind of, yeah,
Yeah, okay.
yeah, with a couple of new ones, because I'm always writing, with a couple of new ones sprinkled in, and it actually it didn't. There's nothing. There's nothing on it that is really any older than 3 years.
Right.
But there was a lot in the running. There was a lot in the running of it.
So, aspiring songwriters, give you a call. You got a couple extra songs you can send their way.
Yeah.
In the back catalog.
Yeah, a good ballad from 2005 if you feel like that's the way you want to go. Yeah.
So, how have you found it? How have you found being out on your own?
I mean, it's ups and downs like anything else. Like it's been making the record was very difficult without all the collaborators and all the sounding boards. I often got lost in sort of my own excess of freedom, I guess, and not really knowing whether it's good or absolute shite or what, But it was also beautiful. That freedom was also kind of beautiful, that I could just, very few compromises in terms of like how a thing would go, and not more so about how, like, when I would and still do when I write a song, you hear it in a certain way, and sometimes it's very difficult to communicate to people you're working with what you're hearing. You play it, and I'd be hearing some very cool. Like Dr. Doggy thing, and then the boys would just hear Jack Johnson, and it'd be hard to sort of make that connection. And so this was fun because you could just chase that first conception. You could chase it right through to the end, without. I mean, but then you also miss all the happy accidents of like collaborating with people, and they hear it a certain way, and they do a thing. You're like, wow, never thought that was going to be a part of this. That's very cool. Let's take a left turn and follow that. So yeah, it's good and bad and. Yeah,
it's a beautiful record, and that's not the only change you've made. Isn't just going out on your own. You've also moved from Newfoundland to Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
What's that like?
Yeah, right. You tell me.
It is an interesting thing, hey, because I've been thinking a lot about that when it comes to this record. Just take a listen to this.
Strange river.
Bit of Strange River off Tim Baker's new solo album Forever Overhead. My guest here on Q today. I know we've talked a lot about this song, about us not doing what we should be doing, that we're like, our bodies are built to run in the forest, our bodies are built to run and swim and have sex and not necessarily to be hunched over a computer all the time. But that line right there, like, what kind of water is this? Why can't I feel it? Why is it not what my body expects? I definitely heard it as being a bit of a fish out of water. I definitely heard it as maybe being in an environment you're not used to.
Yeah, that's definitely where this song came from. Yeah, moved from my place in St. John's, which is, as you know, anywhere really in St. John's, about a 5-minute drive to to just the raw ocean and the
I thought you were going to say the mall.
No, well, that's also true. Whichever direction you want to go.
Yeah, you got frozen yogurt, you got Claire's accessories, or you have the beautiful Atlantic Ocean.
Yeah, you got the mom's, the hot shop.
The hot shop where we used to get the Beaconsfield
fries,
special.
dressing, gravy.
Fries, dressing, and gravy.
Come on.
Anyway, go on.
Yes. Well, I moved from that, when I moved to Toronto, I moved into a condo downtown, and it was a bit of a shock. Yeah, like just surrounded by nothing but other condos, and just one little patch of grass that would just be completely decimated by so many dogs over. It was a harsh change, not seeing any water or trees or wind or anything, and combined by spending so much time at the computer, and more time than ever sort of on the phone and computer. I mean, this is happening to sort of all of us. I just had this intense longing for home, but also conflated with my past, but conflated with like our collective past, and sort of what we're sort of built to be doing, and how we're built to be living. And that's where that song sort of came out of, the Strange River being, like the Don Valley Parkway or the one or something.
I guess what I find interesting about this is that, like, I've been a fan of your music since before we kind of knew one another, and you left St. John's, moved to Toronto, yet I've never heard so much of writing about place in one of your records before.
Yeah, I guess that's part of the old thing. I guess it was always just what was around me. It was the water I was in. I never even noticed I was in it, I guess. And since moving away, I just been thinking about it more and more. And there's a couple like All Hands is a tune on the record that is very much about how important a part of me that St. John's and my past and my youth there is, how I know I will always sort of return to it, if not in life, then in death. Like, that is what I'll be going back to, so I think it's just that classic sort of diaspora thing where as soon as you move away, you start pining for it.
Yeah, it's interesting, hey? Like, I will admit that I didn't really like Saltwater Joys when I lived in Newfoundland.
Now you can't as well ballin', I suppose.
Saltwater Joys, by the way, but buddy, what's the name of the other fellas? In Newfoundland, I thought, this is an okay song. And now when I listen to it in Toronto, I cry unrelentingly. So you're about to play. I remember you coming over to our house, eating a bowl of chili, and playing this song for us.
Great chili, by the way.
Yeah, pretty good. Sheila Power, my mom's recipe.
There you go.